Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I just want to take a moment to mention the podcast sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au. Head over there for all your Game Boy refurbish and repair needs. Screens, shells, buttons, and all the bits and pieces. And there's a complete custom build made to order service as well. Also, plenty more retro gaming goodness like video cables, display stand and power supplies, controls, etc. And you can add the code PixelPie at checkout to get 10% off your order. Also, take a moment to say if you enjoyed this episode and haven't already, give it a subscribe or follow and a review where you can. And maybe you want to recommend the Pixel Pie podcast to anyone you know that would enjoy it. That'd be really appreciated. So thanks for listening, and now let's get on with the show.
He's Ben.
He's Greg.
And we're Gamechanger Mods. And you're listening to the Pixel Pie Podcast.
Hey guys, how you doing?
How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. Greg, Ben, for Brooklyn, what's going down?
Much.
Yeah.
Hanging out. You did some mods today, winding down the week.
Oh, really?
Yes,
God.
long week of mods. We made a lot of boys this week.
Wow. I looked at somewhere I read on, I think on your Instagram or YouTube, it's like, probably in the book that we're going to talk a bunch about, thousands of Game Boys.
Yeah, we've officially definitely made thousands of Game Boys at this point.
Multiple
It's
thousands.
crazy to think about it.
It is crazy.
I mean, we just passed 3,000 sales on Etsy, so that's at least how many, yeah.
Sorry, how many?
At least 2,000 are Game Boys, probably.
Yeah,
Wow.
we just passed 3,000 sales on Etsy.
That is epic, cool. Look, I really want to talk about that, but also want to, I've got you guys here on the 10th episode. And like, it's just been so much fun. It's only been 10 weeks, but I feel like I've been doing this for months and months and months, 6 months. And I just met so many great people. And, the sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au, Craig, he's been really supportive from the start, and he's just come through, and we've had a giveaway. And if you were part of it, you knew how it worked. And so it's a shiny pocket, brand new, beautiful, gorgeous, clear, a shell, IPS screen, just, oh my gosh, someone's going to be very happy. So at the end of this episode, I'll announce the winner, and that person will get what they deserve. So with that aside,
So that's a Game Boy provided by this local gaming shop?
Yeah. Yep. My sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au here in Australia.
Do they have a physical store?
I don't believe he does. No, I think he's all online. But this is Craig's full time. Like, I'm slowly coaxing Craig. He's a little bit sort of shy, and he says that I don't know if I've got much to say, but anybody that goes into Game Boys retro gaming full time I think they've got something to share. So we'll get to hear more.
Yeah. So is he mostly a modder, or does he just sell all sorts of retro stuff? I
think Craig does a lot. I mean, I think like most people, he started in just like sort of flipping a couple. But if you go to his website, it's I would say if anybody that's looking to buy what they need and isn't already got their own source straight from AliExpress, you're going to do a pocket and you're like, hey, I've got this pocket. It's a bit janky. I need a shell. I need a screen. Oh, I need a lens, or I need buttons. You just buy the whole lot, So,
right.
But I bought like video cables and a bunch of other stuff for like my Mega Drive and that. So it's covering some pretty good bases there. Anyway, enough about Craig. Let's talk about you guys. Look, initially, and I'll be totally open with you. Initially, it was Greg, and I wanted to talk to you about your book, Game Boy Modding by Greg Farrell at Gamechanger _mods. And then it became quite apparent as I went through the book, there's a brother. And the brother is Ben. And so it's really a journey for both of you. And I would really like you to kind of take us back, because there's a really cool little comic in the front of, you're obviously a comic artist yourself, Greg. There's a really cool little comic at the front that explains, your journey. And anybody, if you're walking past this book on the shelf, just pick it up, just read that, because I think you're guaranteed to put it under your arm and pay for it from then on. Just take us back on that little journey where it all started, and I guess sort of the floor is yours to bring us up to date.
I mean, I think that it's a universal thing at this point. Like, I see a lot of YouTube videos more and more every day about, especially people with brothers. I feel like they all have this story of, you know, how they gamed with their brothers, like what their first main console was, and like all these sort of milestones that they went through on their like gaming journey, and then these moments that inspired them to become a YouTuber or something to take it to the next level. I mean, I feel like that's just
at this point, it's not actually the most unique story.
Yeah.
But it's one that we can all relate to.
Yeah, this is true. But I guess, you know, you guys and I were talking about the numbers. Like I read somewhere, maybe in the book, thousands of Game Boys have passed through your hands. That's pretty unique. And I think especially there's a lot of good people in the community now that are possibly listening to this, that, you know, the last 18 to 24 months has been a real boom in this particular niche of a hobby. But you guys have been doing that a little longer than the last 18 to 24 months. Probably laid a lot of the track work for the, you know, the express train that's come through.
Yeah, I think that, well, I started it by myself about 4 years ago. And Ben and I have been doing it together for like a year and a half now, or almost 2 years.
Yep.
And when I started it, it was not like it is now. And there were a couple people that I noticed that I saw, and I saw that they were selling them on Etsy. Like now, I mean, I get people following me on Instagram all day, every day, talking about, you know, their new modder, check out my Etsy shop and everything.
Yep.
And I definitely did the same exact thing 4 years ago, but it was not near where it is now. And I think just, the explosion happened about 18 months, maybe, like you're saying. And I'm glad that the book came out when it did, because it coincided with that, and maybe it contributed to that. But yeah, it's cool to see everybody doing that. I mean,
So where were you
as far as the book
sorry,
goes, Greg has been running the Instagram, and he did the book by himself pretty much. I came on just as it was being published. So
perfect timing to slot on in there once the work's done.
I'm sure it helped a lot in other ways.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, he had to learn modding after I did, so he used the book a little bit. So,
isn't that ironic that so Ben, you're the older brother?
No, he's older.
We have one other brother, so he's the youngest. I'm in the middle.
It's kind of funny though, because in the book it explains that, you know, you were kind of getting the hand-me-downs, Greg, from your brother, and it's it just sort of flows, you know, through the family, all that stuff. And you're right. Like, I guess there's, you know, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and we look at what the challenges she has growing up as a kid, and, you know, there's this. She doesn't have a brother or a sister to kind of go, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, if a sister plays hockey, often the younger sister will like, well, I'm going to be better at her than hockey, so I'm going to play a bit of hockey. You know, so to have that with you guys. So just sort of maybe getting into some of the intricacies of, you know, as a business, say 4 years ago, Greg, where were you getting all of your stock from, all your Game Boys, all your shells, all your buttons, or things? Because obviously AliExpress and places like that, it's just, man, like, which one do I buy? It's ridiculous. So what was your process 4 years ago?
4 years ago, I was basically just scrounging from wherever I could, mostly on eBay. Prices were a lot lower back then for Game Boys. They're almost tripled at this point, but and I mean, our prices have gone up too accordingly. Back then I was selling a front-lit Game Boy Color for like $110.
Right.
Now we sell them with the IPS screen for around $220.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but you know, that being said, parts are a lot easier to come by now. Like, and you know, like I was saying, this boom happened, and I think like modders like us, or like someone like Peg City, you know, like we make our money and we do good, but there are like extremely large companies with many thousands of dollars invested in this hobby who, I think definitely like blew up in the last 2 years, and that makes it easier to for people to get parts and things like that. So it's and people like, I think you had like Yesterday's Tech and those people on your
Sam and Kelsey.
Like even that sort of side of it is just casting buttons and things like that. There's more people doing all that stuff. It's everywhere you turn, there's a new, like something new that someone's putting out there in some quantity that you can get.
Yeah, the screen thing is crazy, isn't it? Like I've come from a few years back, I was right into, quadcopters, 250 size racing quads. And, I sort of started playing with that sort of FPV drone stuff like 6-7 years ago. And the control board was kind of janky and the buttons were physically on it. And within sort of a 4 to 5 years period, it seemed like there was a new flight controller that was USB-C at the end of its evolution, like every 3 months, whether it be cloned by, it'd be made by company X, then cloned by company B. And then they're like, well, now we're going to have to beat it. And it's just like the latest is that at the time of recording, that latest drop in GBA IPS, like that's a fantastic opportunity to take something that you love and not damage it, but still be able to use it. So, I mean, you guys have seen, I guess, the entire evolution. And I mean, how is that? Your book is very much about, in my opinion, restoration. So how do you kind of deal with that situation where, I'm taking these good things and I'm just sort of rebuilding them? Does it ever sort of tug at your heartstrings a bit? Because I have choices. I have a pocket to tear down today to put into a shell I've been waiting for. Well, there's part of me that does not want to.
I feel like my favorite mod is just the straight up backlight.
Yep.
In the DMG, because it keeps the original screen.
Yeah.
From the Game Boy, so you still get that classic feel.
Yeah.
I don't ever feel bad tearing into it though. It's
I mean, I definitely have a thick skin. Yeah,
he's less sentimental.
Yeah, I mean, what did you say? Lambs to the slaughter?
Yeah, correct.
I mean, if you're a butcher or whatever, you own a slaughterhouse, then
this is true.
You can't be looking at every lamb and wishing to have it as a pet, So I definitely don't mind slicing in there. And, but yeah, I think this is kind of what you're getting at before about the book, is that it came out basically one whole year ago.
Yeah.
And that's kind of recent, but also like by the day it came out, it was already outdated. Like I really don't talk about the IPS screens in there too much. There's like a little mention because they were on the scene.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really had too much experience with them. And so literally in the last year, these tech has exploded and exponentially. And
agreed.
Those seem to be the ones that everyone wants. And they're also obviously a lot easier to do. But I think like what Ben was saying, and I agree, is that I think the chapter in the book about the DMG backlight and the bivert will forever be relevant, because that's really like the nitty gritty of doing a Game Boy mod. And like when you pull that apart and see how that works, then you get a real good understanding for what's going on. Whereas if you buy like a DMG,
you just throw this whole screen away.
You literally with those IPS mods, you're just taking that out and throwing it away and then plugging in a new thing.
Half the machine is now redundant.
Yeah. So I feel like if people are just jumping to those, they're missing out a little bit on it, but it's more power to them. It's great, but I do think there's some sort of nitty gritty that's maybe getting left behind a little bit.
Yeah, my first sort of Game Boy modding experience was exactly that: a backlight, a handheld legend backlight, and the bivert mod. And there was definitely that, and it's funny sort of flicking through your book, and like when you get something, you flick through it, and you sort of I leave it around and I flick through it again. And then, last night, obviously I did a little bit of my homework and I read in there about Newton rings. And, dude, when I put this thing together and there was these weird, like oily blob things, and I was like, what is this? This is, and I actually had an email ready to go back to Handheld Legends saying, you dude sent me a dodgy screen. Like this backlight does not work. And I was kind of talking to a buddy. He's like, have you ever heard of Newton rings? I was like, I don't know. So I'll explain. The concept is just the screens are touching, and so you get this kind of looks a bit like a tiny fingerprint. And then
it's almost like a lattice work.
Yeah, that's right. And then in your book, as explained, you just put a fine layer of talc on the side just to keep that microscopic separation between those 3 layers, and it's gone. Like that is an element of an art that's going to get left behind with the IPS stuff. And if you're into restoring, and I own a lot of restored, 20 odd in good condition restored Game Boys, but I have an IPS of everything because I'm 47, and the eyes and the light, and it's just nicer. And even now with all the pixelation that's coming through these boards is amazing. Now I kind of want to stay with Gamechanger mods, but I do want to lean into the book where you want. And for me, the book is, it's kind of like if you have like an old, say, 72 Mustang, and a bit of the wiring behind the dashboard's gone out, and there's a few bulbs that are gone, and you could probably look up, mustangleds.com and get all those parts, and you could replace them. But if you're the kind of person where you want to put in the legit wiring, the correct gauge, you want those voltages to be right, and you want to get the bulbs off some dude that worked for Ford and has 7,000 in a box sitting in his shed or a barn out in the middle of nowhere. And that's what this book is about. It's about restoring and bringing things. And I think that the fact that you just cut off where the technology kind of ended and went, yes, there's IPSs, but this is it. That actually makes the book timeless, because that's history, and it's never ever going to change. And I really commend you for that. I would like you to maybe, if you want, go into the book, because I think in this day and age of like media saturation and social media, it's impossible for anybody that hasn't done it to know what it's like to have a book in the world on shelves. So in this day and age, 2020 was a tough year for a lot of people. So can you take us through the process of like how long it really took you, and how many publishers turned you down, and, walking past bookshelves and sort of going, gee, I wish do you have a box of them in the garage? Like, please open our eyes up to the reality of doing that.
The reality of getting a book published is, it's a pretty annoying process. And thankfully on this one, I only pitched it to one publisher and they took it right away. So
boom.
That was just because I worked at a bookstore for the last 13 years.
Right.
And so you had a pretty good eye for who was publishing what. And so it was a pretty targeted pitch. So I got lucky in that regard, but then there's about 2 years of just nonsense that follows, where, you have to sit down and make the book and then put it in front of editors, and they have their own idea. And I think one of the weird things about this one and the editors is like, they don't really, no start you publish it. They do a lot of like hacker stuff and books about coding and things like that.
Right.
And but they didn't really know anything about Game Boys or retro gaming, and but they thought it was cool. And so I had to sort of struggle a little bit with them and be like, no, this is cool, this works, and sort of try to open their eyes a little bit to what the scene was, kind of, and be like, trust me, I have people on Instagram who want it to look this way or whatever.
Yeah.
But it takes about 2 years to do a book like that from start to finish, and it's just a lot of it is sitting down and putting in the work and making the words sound good, and it's not really that much fun. Like, the fun part all happens in the first 2 months, and then in the last day when you finally get it. And like you said, having a book out there in the world on the shelves, like, it's always cool when someone sends me a screenshot of them in Barnes and Noble and they see it on the shelf and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But it's just a lot of work, honestly, and not a lot of money comes from it. And yeah, it's a labor of love. So I appreciate everyone who loves it and appreciates it. So it's really the most rewarding aspect of it to me.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be a challenge dealing with people that have no idea. You hear this about, I'm currently rewatching The Office, the US version. And I'm also listening to a podcast, the guy that played Kevin, and he'll interview people that took the show and spoke to Gervais and stuff, and just sort of went to the you know, the TV was big back then. You still had big networks. There was not a lot of streaming and stuff. And sort of going, I need you to understand we're the comic geniuses. This is what we need to do. I do not need this hamstrung from the start.
Yeah.
And talking to people that are like, that's all good and well, but we're going to make our quota on this shit. And if you don't, we're just going to trust you. Yeah, it's not really what we do. So I guess going into that with a humble and understanding personality is a big key asset.
Yeah, you know, like it's the classic, like the suits don't really know what's good, but meanwhile they're calling all the shots kind of thing. But I never said I had a humble personality going into. I start fights with people all the time.
All right.
And you know, sometimes they're just not up to snuff, and I'm like, I don't think I'm humble during the process of making the book. It's after it comes out that I'm a little bit humbled by it.
All right. Oh, maybe that was part of your win then, was like sort of not backing down.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've never had two books published by the same publisher, I think, is because
Yeah, I know. So you've done other books, is that right? Like some graphic novels?
Yeah, this is like my 5th book, basically.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And after all that being said, there's rumor you were thinking about a second book.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd love to do a second book. I could bust one out. I have, you know, I got a whole outline done for it, but I pitched it to the publisher, No Starch. They didn't want it.
Oh, no, him again. Get out of here.
I think that's literally what their attitude was. And then I pitched it. I tried to get an agent. I pitched it to an agent, and I was like telling him that it was unfortunate that by the time this one came out, there were all these developments in the scene. So it needs a second volume. That was part of my pitch. And he was like, yeah, you're right. And by the time this second one comes out, it will be outdated too. So never mind. So it's just like, I don't know. Like I said, the publishing is just super annoying, and it's like a constant uphill battle, and trying to show people what's cool and tell them why things are cool. It's just a lot. That's the biggest part of it. It's convincing people to like buy into your idea, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, I reckon like obviously for you, there's, you know, boxes you want to tick or goals you want to achieve, but as an individual standalone book, like it's not like one of those films where you go, oh, this could really do with a sequel. It doesn't feel like that. It feels complete. You know, one thing in here that, and I would like to sort of see people, because I'm a bit sentimental and stuff, I would like to see people understand the history of the Game Boy. I listen to a lot of podcasts and I have a lot of knowledge, but I can't remember any of it. You know, just because you heard something doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. But there's a bunch of stuff in here about Gunpei Yokoi, and yeah, his story alone, sort of being a maintenance dude and just making a little hand grabby thing, which I knew when I read. Yeah, and it's just to see someone else that knows the story then says, you know, where this is. I'm going to quickly flick 240 pages, and you took a whole couple of pages plus some drawings to explain that, to put that information in there, that this is where this all started with this dude back there. And I think a lot of times what occurs to me is that this community is very much built from makers, especially when we start talking about the casting. And Gunpei was effectively the first maker, you know, in the Game Boy scene. Yeah. So when you're, did you do all the photos in the book yourself?
Every single thing you see is 100% done by me.
The photography is interesting in that, again, it totally takes me to the that almost like a kind of garage textbook type maintenance manual, because it's in black and white. I know. But because it's in black and white, it adds that neutrality, but it also allows you just to focus on what's really going on in the pictures. But everything is just so clear. You can't sort of get confused. It's really great. So with the book, do you think you kind of feel like, nah, I think I did it? And
well, yeah, I mean, I definitely think it is complete. Although there's one thing that someone mentioned once that I should have put in there, is about capacitors. Like, I'm a little bit of a lazy modder, and I think Ben and I kind of agree on this, is that, you know, and also as a business person, time is money. So you don't want to spend too much time like fixing a board. You just get a new one and move on, kind of thing. So I never really messed with capacitors too much. But that would have been nice to have in there. That's really the only thing I feel like might have been left out. But I do think that I have a lot that I would want to say in a second volume. I wanted to talk a lot about audio mods and chip tunes and making music with the Game Boys. Like I'm also a musician, so
right.
I wanted to do a whole section about like how to use what's it called, nano. Like I don't know if you're familiar with these programs that are used to make like program beats on a game. What's that one called? Loop.
Is it like one called was it LSDJ?
LSD. Yeah.
Look, it's not something I delve into, but I am familiar because I listen to enough podcasts where it comes up, and there's like 8-bit tune festivals and stuff when they were allowed to do that. Yeah, and it's pretty bloody rad.
Yeah, I wanted to interview some musicians and have that be a whole part of it, and talk about all the other stuff that's happening out there. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be as long, but there's definitely a whole other book that I could do.
You also have so much more experience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Offer.
Yeah. I'm just flicking through. There's a part in here about an artist that you kind of highlight. Where is that? Mewcat? Oh, sorry.
Mewcat.
Okay, so can you take us? Because again, I think this is all valuable real estate, and you felt that you wanted to sort of put that in there. Is that something you want to talk about?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with her mods and her art. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but this was back a year and a half ago when, you see it now with the UV prints, all these Game Boys have these fancy designs. There's people like, I guess, 8-Bit Pixel Dust or whatever their name is. And they're doing, or DM Genius, they're doing these hand painted designs on there. And, really fancy, pretty looking Game Boys. But back 2 years ago, or actually I've been working with Jacqueline, that's Mewcat, for maybe more than 3 years. We've been sort of collabing on mods since a long time ago. Yeah. And this was before everyone was dropping these hot shells with the designs and stuff. So she's just this amazing artist who not only draws I'm looking at one of her pictures right now. I can't really think of how to describe it, but she's an amazing visual artist, and she's also interested in Game Boy and old tech and 80s stuff and things like that. Yeah, and paints Game Boys and does like Casio keyboards and Tamagotchis and stuff. Anyway, she's an amazing painter of objects, basically. And so,
yeah, I mean, it's a thing now.
Yeah.
And the hand painting is a thing. Like when I spoke to Sam and Kelsey, I mean, that's how Sam wrote Kelsey into. He's like, hey, you can paint these. And she's like, really? And it turned out they both discovered quite rapidly that it's a lot harder than it seemed. Yeah. It's not just a canvas. There's less control over the surfaces. There's a different goal in the end because you kind of want to give it to someone and say, hey, now go and lose your shit over a game on it, which is, it's not as robust. It becomes more a work of art than it does. It's still a Game Boy that you can kind of like throw on the couch because you're running off to answer the door.
Yeah, that's the thing that I, being an artist, it always kind of intrigued me of the best way to put your designs on a Game Boy. Back in the day, obviously you're gripping this thing with your sweaty hands the whole time. So sometimes doesn't work the best, but no. So Mewcat just did it. She always did an amazing job, and her designs were always awesome. And we've modded a bunch of her hand painted Game Boys, and now retro modding has like at least 4. I think they're working on their 5th design with her, and they're all just amazing. So definitely have to shout her out in the book.
Yeah,
she deserves the real.
Exactly.
So maybe sort of leaning back towards the Gamechanger mods as a business. So Ben, I mean, were you kind of just on the outside and seeing your bro kind of going rock star and wanted in on it, or what kind of drew you, I guess, back into the whole scene?
Well, it happened gradually, naturally over time. Our dad owned a retail store selling memorabilia, records, posters, and all types of collectibles like that. So we kind of grew up with a secondhand retail kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And I was doing my own thing for a while, selling just kind of reselling games, retro games. I was just really into video games, so
yeah.
He was a big. He had his own retro gaming festival on Long Island for a couple of years.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I put on like a mini con a couple times.
Oh,
and so I was doing that for a while, and then we just joined forces. And
yeah, we were each separately doing this thing.
Yeah,
that
was similar.
Yeah,
yeah.
And
was this a bit of rivalry? Like my con's better than your Game Boys?
No.
Very, very supportive, and then it just made sense to just join together. And then I moved to Brooklyn, so we lived down the street from each other.
Right.
We work in my office in my apartment. So
nice.
It worked out pretty well.
So Ben, are you a collector, or again, are you able to just kind of like buy and sell and I can move this somewhere else, or do you have things that you hold on to?
I'm definitely more of a collector than Greg. I think he rubs off on me a little bit, though, to be a little less sentimental.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No, well, it's definitely collecting which got me into the selling.
Yeah.
And over time, you just realize it's like, okay, well, once you get in deeper and deeper into the business aspect, you keep less and less for yourself, basically.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I still have, my collection from when I was a kid. A few things I'll never get rid of.
Yeah. What sort of stuff would you these days as an adult with your own finances? What are the sort of things that you're like, I'm keeping that?
These days, the last thing I started collecting was VHS tapes.
Bitchin'.
So it was kind of a cool retro thing I got into for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll see if I can reach over and grab this. I'm also kind of like the movies I grew up on. I picked this up at a swap meet market a few weeks ago, or about a month ago. So those that can't see, it's an original VHS of the original movie Alien. It's only the cardboard sleeve, but it's all there. Look at that. It's just the label and stuff. I saw this film when I was like 10 years old. My mother should be, she's an idiot, really is. Scared the shit out of me. But like, you wouldn't put this into a video.
Your mother let you see that?
Yeah.
How old were you?
Oh, maybe 10.
Your mother let you watch Alien when you were 10?
Yeah. Oh, and Jaws, all sorts of stuff. She's ruined me for life.
Wait, is that an Australian VHS box style, or is it missing the top?
No, it's just kind of like a cardboard sleeve.
Do they all come like that?
I would say there would have been plastic versions, but this might have been, at the end of the cycle. So this movie says 79. So, mid to late 80s, it may have been where they're just trying to push a bunch out, sell those last couple of tens of thousands version, and they just they'd be in like the Kmart's or stuff for like $9 instead of the original $49 or whatever an original kind of VHS was. And I guess being in cardboard, it feels like that, like a bit of Tetris cart, which is in a cardboard, and it has that it has just that more aged kind of feel about it. And it's really hard to find VHS tapes now that there's a lot of junk around. Like my parents-in-law used to own a video store, and she's like, oh Lord, when we got rid of that place 15 years ago, it all just went to the tip. And you're like, oh gosh. It kind of occurred to me recently, I guess, when Sony decided they were going to shut the PS3, PSP, and PSV store, and someone sort of said, so what if Apple turned around and said, all right, we're not going to stock any more Hendrix, Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. It's just gone.
Yeah, it's weird how they don't. Games are not looked at in the same way that music and movies are. I mean, I think it's coming around a little bit.
Yeah, it's the biggest industry. It kicks music and Hollywood to the bloody moon.
Yeah, and yet, Led Zeppelin's been in print forever on every single format. But I just want to play that game Fear Effect. I don't know if you've ever played that for PlayStation, but I can't get it anywhere.
I'll have to have a look. What you need to do is get yourself a PlayStation and do the X Station mod. It's totally up your alley because I know you could do it, and then you can just play it. I mean, I guess that kind of comes back to the whole, like with the Game Boys and the restoration, the resurgence of LPs in the last probably 18 to 24 months it's a similar situation, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it might be they're putting out some new Game Boy games too and things like that. So I guess it's coming around. I don't know. I mean,
our biggest
I doubt it. Go ahead.
Our biggest fear is that they catch on to it and then start kind of ruining it. You know, like Nintendo are great; they've given us so much joy, but they just have this habit of just taking the fun away for a cost.
They release like a Game Boy Classic or something.
Yeah. And then anything with Game Boy on it is then, you know, oh, you can't do that anymore. So I guess that's our fear. Yeah. So you guys do this.
I don't think
oh, sorry, Ben. Go on.
I don't think we're too worried about that aspect.
Yeah. I was listening to something the other day about patents and things like that. And it was like when I think the NES patents ran out, there was this massive market of like games on, you know, clone, but well, reproduced NES cartridges, because up until that point, they had to be licensed, you know, by Nintendo. Yeah. And as all of a sudden the patent went out, everybody's like, boom, got it. So, you know, I guess if it happens, someone will be able to find something. So with the store, like what's the do you guys do this full time?
Yeah. 5 days a week.
Living the dream. and
yeah,
and what's the kind of the plan? Like, do you guys I mean, there's obviously a few different companies out there that are really, you know, they're just buying more laser printers and buying all this gear, and they're really kind of investing and stuff. Like, where do you guys find yourself? You know, how big's your boat in the ocean? Are you just, did you want to kind of like really crank into it, or are you happy with what you got?
I think we're cranking into it as much as we can. You know, everyone asks what's going to happen when the Game Boys run out.
Yes.
But, you know, there's a lot of different ways to answer that question. And
one is they won't run out.
One is that they're not going to run out.
What do you say that?
Well, there's at least 100 million Game Boys out there. Okay. So think about the way a Switch sells. So there's thousands of people buying a Switch like every hour, probably around the world, right?
Yeah.
So they have to be able to sustain that. And so there's 100 million Game Boys from when they were sustaining it at that level with Game Boys. So does the retro scene and the modding scene, you know, there's modders, but then there's also people like you have right there who just want a nice original version to keep. Is that how close is that demand to the original demand in 1993 or whatever?
Sure.
When, you know what I mean? I don't think it could ever compare. Like it's never going to be close.
Otherwise, they'd still be on the shelves at Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
In a way, we're also saving Game Boys from being, you know,
agreed,
completely destroyed or forgotten.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes people do on TikTok or whatever. People will yell at us for, you know, taking a perfectly good Game Boy and doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, some of these Game Boys are destined for the heap. I mean, for sure.
If we didn't bring it back to life, it was an inch away from death. So.
Yeah. I assumed you'd say something like, well, we go to our secret vault in the deep, dark mountain of Sweden where we've got like a million of them just stashed, so that when the Game Boy apocalypse comes, we're good to go.
I wish that were true, but it's I think that the price is going to keep going up, and then who knows what's going to happen. We're going to have to pivot or do something else because can't last forever. But like I said, people have a lot more invested in this than we do, so I feel like it's not really something to totally worry about.
In your book, Greg, you know, there's a really great illustration of all the consoles you'd owned and stuff and things you wanted, you know, like here you've got, you know, PlayStation, Dreamcast, Xbox, Nintendo 64. Are they some tech that you are able to move into? Because I mean, it just blows your market right up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is we you know, you as a business person, you want to diversify, of course, but we haven't even fully expanded into every single Game Boy. We still don't do Game Boy SPs. We just can't afford the time right now. Like we what do we do 4 now, right? So to keep up with the volume of sales and all the different types of Game Boys is a lot. I mean, to move into PlayStation and things, that might be nice. I don't know. I guess the market's there. I mean,
something like Game Gear too.
They're
also just not as popular to sell.
Yeah, but that'll come. I mean, everything has its time, doesn't it? The Game Gear, I mean, we're seeing the backlights and the power mods and like reshells and stuff. So
I think it's coming soon. Yeah. But I mean, there's always Joy-Cons, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a million things you could mod.
Yeah. As long as you sort of stay happy, putting food on your table.
That's basically it. Yeah.
So you guys must get like some big boxes of stuff. Like, I mean, if I think about if I was to sit down and say, even if I was doing like an IPS, like we described before in a DMG, and I'm effectively opening it. If I use the original shell, I'm originally opening it up, taking a board out, putting a board in, kind of, a bit of a wipe and a polish and maybe some rubbers and things like that. Now, for me sitting here at my bench, my game room, it's probably, I'm going to put some music on, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm probably going to go to the toilet twice. That's a couple of hours. But you guys realistically, you could probably knock that out in like 45 minutes. And you just have like a lot.
Ben's record is 17 minutes on a DMG.
Oh yeah, for the DMG backlight mod with Bivert is I think like 19 minutes is my record.
With the backlight and Bivert, 19 minutes.
Yeah. The DMGs we blaze through. We do 10 or 12 a day if we have the orders for it. So like and also it's the two of us, so we got a little assembly line too.
Shit.
But yeah, we bust them out. We know
Holy shit. That's a record. So if you're out there and you can do it in under 19 minutes, and
that's a challenge.
Yeah, it's got a function. Okay, you can't just slam it in there. I could do it in 6.
No, this is timed from once it's open to just having.
No, it's a closed original Game Boy to the
just to having it sitting
just
there.
The mod with no new shell.
Yeah.
Right.
Closed Game Boy to unshelled mod, 19 minutes.
Okay, so is that like
might even be counting in for some lines in there too.
Right. Yeah. Oh, this blows me away just a tiny bit. That's just so like just muscle memory. I'm doing this. Do you ever, while you're sitting there and you've sort of done 1,600 in a day, and wonder what it was like? I'm really interested to somehow find some footage of like an original Game Boy assembly line. And I'm just picturing a bunch of these sort of like 75-year-old Japanese people that are just because it's kind of like we're in the era of robots, but at the same time, the profit margin was quite low, and I assume the robots were building cars. And I just would love to just see footage of this. And when I open one, like I'm a bit sentimental. I honestly, if I get one that needs a bit of a clean or something, or I want to just open it up and clean the rubbers, and I'm like, open it, and I'm like, this is the first time that sunlight has hit that board since the day it was made. And the last person that touched this, like that's a journey on its own. That's me. That's what I like to do. Do you guys get those? Do you still get those moments, or is it?
I mean, I personally am more just repulsed by them than anything else, because I just think about all the little kids who just picking their nose and eating Cheetos all day, and then there's all that dust goes in there. And
when you get a silicone pad that's just black on the inside,
oh my god!
Or there's like a roach inside it, or just like some gross. Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of the ones we source have been tampered with or opened up before.
Right.
You can kind of tell if you're missing screws or some stuff on the inside.
Yeah.
Misplaced.
But. Yeah. I know someone that opened up one of those the sort of the SNES fight sticks. The big grey deck with all the buttons and sliders, and he said inside it was like what resembled like oatmeal. It was just a collection of like kind of earwaxy dust, broken down glue, roaches' legs and stuff. And he was just like, whoa, it's like a murder scene. So yeah, must be some interesting stuff. What is kind of like, because we've all seen the picture of the one that got, I think it got hit in Iraq and it still functioned.
Yeah.
What is the most sort of like, because you usually you get them and you're like, you know, because I guess you buy them with as lot, hasn't been tested, may function, and you probably throw a battery in every one and just make sure, yes, this one is junk, I need to work it out. What is the most sort of devastated, just totally demoralized, destroyed Game Boy that you've picked up and gone, I can't believe that still works?
One that ended up working.
Yeah.
Then
I mean,
like anything that's come out of a river
the hardest thing to fix is just corrosion. I feel like battery corrosion, or just when the board itself starts to just deteriorate.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to.
Yeah.
You throw some vinegar on there, but it's tough.
But it is amazing how durable they are. They last. They really take a beating for all this time.
It is crazy how durable.
And I've seen that Gulf War game. I've seen it in person, and
oh really?
It's at the World Store in New York, and it's plugged in, and it's on 24/7, and they just let
still
it go.
going,
and it's all boiled up. Heat got to it, but the insides are fine.
Yeah. It just says something for the whole the quality of that plastic. Then, hey, yeah. I know you guys, you know, you sort of you veer a little to a side of sentimentality of particular Game Boys, but is there a particular kind of like model / version? You know, like I've just recently, this is just here, my Game Boys move around my room. That case there is all the sort of beautiful stuff, but I have others I pick up and they move into different situations depending on what I want in my field of vision. So I recently picked up this Aussie one. So is there kind of like a variant of a particular one where you're like, there's something about that I really like what it represents, or just those colors are great, or anything like that? Because you're the collector, Ben.
Well,
maybe
there's we go back and forth sometimes. Whose story this who the story belongs to. We both have the same memory of being in Toys R Us or something, and our grandpa bought the special edition Tommy Hilfiger Game Boy Color.
Yeah, right.
There's a Tommy Hilfiger Game Boy Color that's Ben has it in his room right now.
Yeah,
but it's just existed. We used to share a room as kids.
Yeah,
and it was in that room forever.
Right.
And we
probably both played it, and we probably were both there when our grandpa bought it.
And I have the memory that our grandpa bought it for me, but he says.
We're sentimental over this memory.
Right. Isn't that great?
He got it for me, and he got it for me with the Metal Gear Solid game.
Right.
He bought you the game and me the system.
Game's probably worth the system.
Yeah, I'm working through that at the moment, actually. It's really interesting to go back. There's some sort of, the creator of that story is there's some sort of darkness in what he went on to do. And it's the dialogue in that game is just so sort of, there's a lot going on. So yeah, that's a good one to have.
You talking about Kojima?
Is that the guy?
You talking about the creator of Metal Gear?
Yeah. I can never remember names. But
he's got some weird dialogue in his games for sure.
Yeah. There's always a bit. I think there was always a story in what he was doing that other people kind of like, sure, but this is still for kids, right? And he's like, yeah, sure.
Well, he did that Death Stranding game that came out last year for PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, even I'm a huge fan, I didn't get it at all.
Do you guys play much? Like anything retro, new, whatever?
I play a little bit here and there, but mostly PlayStation stuff.
Yeah. I'm definitely a Nintendo through and through. I've just been I've been slowly whittling away at the 3D World re-release.
Right.
That's definitely one of my favorite Marios.
On Switch.
I like to 100% it, so I'm playing those.
Oh, you're one of those 100%ers. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm like that, there's always that person that's got to finish the steak or whatever the big meal is. I'm like, you know what? I've enjoyed the flavor here. I'm just going to have a glass of water and just move on to the second course or whatever dessert sort of thing. 100% stuff and speed running just blows me away. Like people can just, no, I'm getting this done. And that probably, says something about your, like you can do full backlight bivert in 19 minutes. Like that's some precision. That's 100% right there.
Patience and precision is key.
Yeah, and they're very hard to mix, like to get in the same place. Yeah. So when you say the PlayStation stuff, Greg, is sort of modern PlayStation stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a PlayStation fan. All PlayStation consoles, except I don't know too much about the Vita, but the rest of them I'm a huge fan of. But the last game that I played that I really liked was the Final Fantasy remake.
Right.
I think that's one of the best games like ever made, basically.
Yeah,
I think it's almost like a dream. It's like almost hard to believe that it even exists. I feel like.
Yeah. Well, your book has a lot of good illustrations, a lot of good photos, and it's very succinct. But apart from that, I really don't like reading. So the Final Fantasy and JRPGs just kind of like, oh man, just come on already. She gets it.
Well, I used to count them as reading when I was a teenager. People would say, "Greg, you never read." I'd say, "What are you talking about? I'm reading constantly.
Yeah,
I'm reading for 40 hours straight all the time."
That's so good. I'm currently kind of like dabbling at a
time.
What's that? Sorry.
It's one sentence at a time.
Yeah,
it's like the perfect bite-sized way.
Yeah.
It's like Twitter, basically.
Yeah. I'm currently sort of dabbling in a game called Little Nightmares, which now has a sequel. It's this sort of darkish platformer where this sort of kid wakes up sort of in the bowels of it, feels like a ship, and it's very immersive, and it's very it's a bunch of, I don't know if it's fun. I bought it for my 9-year-old and quickly realized, like, when you walk through a room and there's like the sound of a rope and some feet and a note on the floor, you're like, this is not for 9-year-olds. Like, I'm not into horror. That was my
scary as Alien.
Yeah.
Ah, man, maybe, I don't know. That's where my daughter goes back. Says one day, my dad played this game with me and blah blah blah. What a wanker, sort of thing. All right, coolly. Well, we might sort of move on. Like you guys have sort of made it quite clear that you weren't always Gamechanger mods, and at some point you were contacting other people and sort of going, "Hey, check out my store," and this and that and the other. I really like it when we can sort of turn the spotlight towards other people that we sort of see that are they're that in that early stages of doing what we all love. And I always ask that you guys kind of give us a couple of names. I generally kind of just stalk around Instagram and find a few people, but it's not restricted to just Instagram. It's not just restricted to Game Boys or retro gaming either. So I'd like to give you the opportunity to kick the can for a few people now, if you'd like.
I mean, you actually did, looking at your previous 9 casts there.
Right.
You got a pretty good eye. Like, I think you picked some winners.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'll shout out Greg on TikTok because he's been doing shout outs there for smaller modders.
Yeah. On TikTok, I do a little rundown of who's doing good mods of the week kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Well, that's that's the easy way of just like saying, "Oh, there's lots. Just go over there and check it out."
Well, you can also put pictures on there. It's good, but it's crazy. Like I said, like every day on my Instagram, I feel like I've like created these monsters or something like that, because I get new modders following me every day, and some of them I'll see and I'll be like, "Oh, this person's cool, doing cool shit." Like, "Oh, I didn't know," and they'll have a couple pictures up, and it's something I couldn't do or hadn't thought of. But then I see a lot of people too who are like, watch this space. The mods are coming soon, and they got everything picked out. They have their name and everything, and they're ready to go. And so yeah, who knows what's coming from those people? I mean, it's just so crazy how many people are out there doing this right now.
Yeah, it takes a bit of work just to hold up that end of it, doesn't it? Like it's such a competitive kind of space, even if you just kind of work on Instagram. Like, I've had Instagram for a few years. I got like a couple of thousand followers, but it's over like 4 or 5 hobbies. But just to kind of keep what you're doing interesting. And I think if you're kind of like, if you're forcing it, if you're like, I'm taking this picture, I'm taking that picture, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that, like that's where people start to sort of go, oh yeah. Like there's a lack of passion.
That's the sort of general problem with Instagram, is that you want to get those photos and make it look like you've got it all popping off and everything. But I think that's one advantage that we have, especially when it comes to that, is that we go through so many mods and we're just making them at such a clip that we've always got something cool to take a picture of.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I guess there are people out there who are like definitely styling their boys and trying to maybe putting the Instagram first or something like that. But
yeah,
bottom line, I think it's hard to someone actually, I don't know, you saw my ask me thing on Instagram today, but someone asked, what's the cost of doing a Game Boy? It's actually not cheap, like
yeah,
we sell them for a lot, but get the supplies is not nothing. And if you're like a 14-year-old or 20, or just someone who doesn't really have a job or has tight funds, to put together 5 or 6 mods is like a huge investment. If you're trying to start your business out and they don't start selling, then you're stuck with 5 expensive mods that you got to sort of keep showcasing and stuff. And so it is, you got to find a good balance there. So
yeah, I think people that either want to get into it or want to purchase and don't quite understand the inner workings, just to get hold of, like, this is where I kind of want Craig from Retro Game sort of come on and sort of explain, I want to have a website and I want to have stuff available and I want to have 40, 50 different items that you can just go, give me 2 of those, 3 of those and 4 of those, because if you don't, I'm going to go over there and buy them because they've got them, because I'm not going to pay double shipping because I like those buttons. I'll just buy a different shade. And people probably don't appreciate the logistics and the financial commitment to have all of that sitting ready to go, and massive ceramic balls on the people that really throw millions of dollars into it, and thousands even, still a big ask this day and age. Yeah, look, I had one Pixel Juice. Now, when I was flicking through and I was like, oh, what's this about Zach from Pixel Juice? The first thing I saw was his logo, and it's a juice box, which is sort of half full, which is also a Game Boy. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's cool. So I would recommend everybody go over and check out what Zach's up to. A lot of the time it's sort of, it's another Game Boy, it's another Game Boy, but there's just something about what Zach's doing. He's really covering his bases. It looks to me like, he's collecting and he's really enjoying it. There's a nice thing here about some vertical lines. I love seeing a win. So yeah, I do. I've recently got one with horizontal lines and I gave it a go, and the screen's still there. Someone will come up with the technology and we'll just sort it. But until then, it's just, I've labeled it. This is from the Green Play It Loud. So yeah, go check out Zach at Pixel Juice. All right. Well, look, I've got a few other things, but before I do, I might just leave it open to you guys. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or bring up or promote or anything that you kind of want to add to the conversation here?
No, I think it's going good. Ben, you got anything?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. Easy to please.
Yeah.
That's our motto.
Yeah. As long as I get to do 7 biverts a day, I'm happy. That's what Ben said. That honestly blows me away, because my bivert I did the first time I fired it up, it seemed okay, and I put a couple of different carts in, like a tennis cart, and half of the image wasn't there, and I was like, what? Yeah. This is bullshit. So then when I kind of went back and just reflowed, I think like one of the power pins, and it came good.
Yep.
But between that and the Newton rings, like it wasn't easy. I've had a couple of friends that have kind of got into it, and other people that I've already in retro gaming. He's like, hey, I'm going to do a pocket, and it just went all bad for him. He got a Q5 screen, and it's like when someone says, I want to get into this, and you're like, do you feel like giving a bit of a questionnaire about soldering skills, or do you have the right screwdriver, or do you have a space? Like if you want to do this in this kitchen table between dinner and breakfast, things might go wrong for you. And it's really hard to kind of advise someone to take, especially when you're someone like me that's like, do I want to get this person to take a perfectly good Game Boy, which I would rather see restored, and potentially butcher it? And I've had one mate who I know can solder, and he's had a really good result. Had another mate that is an excellent gamer, and it went bad for him, and he sent it to someone else, and they resolved it. So
Well, you got to break a few eggs if you want to make an omelet.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
And Greg will always say, don't use your childhood Game Boy.
Yeah, don't use your child. I have my child. We got our Game Boys. They're safe. So
yeah. I think Nat has like reshelled her childhood Game Boy like 15 times or something. I can't remember the exact number. Because she's like, it's the one I got. And I'm just like, I just need to test everything. No sentimentality when you're like a mad scientist. It's just like, just take the arm from one child and the leg from another child and stitch it all together. Cool. All right. So I had you guys on. This is the 10th episode. So I really do appreciate it. For me, I try not to fanboy too much. I really do love this book. I really do. I've talked about it a bit. It just gives you a way to sort of slow down and just appreciate what it is. Maybe flick through it before you hack up that one which you think isn't quite as bad as you think, and then appreciate when you do that. It's had a previous life. So I am going to say this is a great book. Pick it up for yourself. Pick it up for a friend. I think it would be an excellent gift for anybody.
It's excellent. Yeah,
that loves Game Boys. I think like when I opened that Christmas present, I was totally surprised that my wife was. She's like, I got you this, and I was like, amazing, and it's great just to have around and flick through, and you will learn something. And I think it'll come full circle where the original Game Boys in the original states will just they will always hold value. I think that's probably the thing about the IPS modded ones. It's like there's so many out there, but the originals are great. So there's the book. So 10th episode. So we've done a giveaway. So those of you that are listening now and you're like, drum roll, you know how you entered. Yeah, you went to retrogamestore.com.au, you did some tagging, you did some liking, all that sort of stuff, and you threw your name in the hat. Beautiful pocket. Beautiful refurbished pocket with an IPS screen. The gorgeous that silver Famitsu no LED lens. I kind of am jealous, but I was told I cannot put my name in, so that's how it works. So I really just want to say thank you to everybody that's 10 episodes. It has only been 10 weeks, but for me, like I said to you guys, it feels like it's been months and 6, 7, 8 months, because I just meet new people all the time. Guys like you, Greg and Ben, and ladies that come on and just willing to sort of share your experience, because there's industries and there's hobbies where people are really like, oh no, I don't want to tell people about stuff because this is what I do for a living, and that's sort of that knowledge hoarding, and that's no fun at all. And there's been a number of people that have got to contacted me and sort of said, look, it's so great to hear this person's voice. There's going to be people out there that've got this book, and here's Greg and Ben talking about it like real people. There's stories in this book about your brother handing you stuff down, Greg, and then your experiences growing up gaming. This is what I did 40 hours of reading a day. What are you talking about? And then to hear someone's voice and to next time pick up that book and go, it's a real person. In the last year or two has been sort of tough. So a lot of people have sort of said to me, thank you for making that person's voice available. I can now, through all my DMs, I can translate that person's voice. I think that's really, really, really great. So that being said, thank you everybody that's come this far. I have plenty of plans. I have like episodes scheduled out. It's crazy. I should stop over scheduling, but I just do. I like to lock it in. And so the winner of the retrogamestore.com.au Pocket, as per the 10th episode giveaway, is one word on Instagram, Matt Woodcock. So applause to Matt. Well done. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Buddy. Okay, so Matt Woodcock, I assume your name's Matt. You're going to be contacted within a couple of days of this dropping. And Craig will get to you, and mate, you're going to be extremely happy. So, all that being said, it's Friday night there for you guys in Brooklyn. I don't know what your plans are, but I really do appreciate you taking this time to come and sit with me and
course.
Share. And I try not to go too fanboy. And Ben, don't for a second think it wasn't great to meet you. It is 19-minute bivert. That's it. It's out there, people. It's got to be on video though. Closed Game Boy to then. Does it have to be powered? Does it have to be powered to see the bivert operating, or?
Yeah, it's got to turn on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking fully functioning, ready to shell.
Yeah.
Ready to shell.
Ready to shell. That's right. Because
so we gotta put the video out there and drop the gauntlet, I guess. 19-minute challenge. Maybe we can break the record on the video. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. And there's like no Game Boys were harmed during the making of this video. Only made better.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. So great to meet you both. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
You
have a great weekend, and I'll catch you around. Hey.
Okay, cool. Take it easy.